everybody, welcome back to the RostyMaths channel and welcome to this our year 7 number series. As you can see, we're doing really well getting through our number curriculum for year 7, and now we are on this lesson, factorizing roots. I did say we weren't going to do any root problems because you can almost do that on your own in your own time. So I'm just going to draw a quick line through that because that we're definitely not doing that. So this is going to be our final lesson in squares, roots and triangular numbers. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into factorizing roots. Before we continue, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you will know as soon as a new video has landed. Okay, so as you can see, I have got some square roots lined up there for you. And the first thing you will notice is that the numbers inside are not square numbers. If you don't know what square numbers are or how to find the square root of square numbers, click on the pop-out banner up here and go and watch my video on square root of numbers. But those are not square numbers in there at all. So how do we factorize them to make them simple? Well, before we can do that, we need to establish a little rule first. And that little rule says that if I have the square root of 2 items multiplying, I can separate that square root into each item individually like that. So I've got 2 things multiplying and I can separate it like this. So you can see over there, I've just got a single number in there. All I've got to think of is, can I turn it into 2 things multiplying? Yes, I can. And in order to do so, I need to find a square factor. So the job that you need to do here is find the largest square factor. And so I'm going to separate that 8, the 12 and so on into their largest square factor. And because I'm not too sure if you've seen my video on square numbers, I'm going to put a link up here to the video on square numbers. Go and watch that video because it's going to help you out with your square numbers. But for now, I'm going to put some square numbers down here to help you out with those. So I'm going to put my square numbers. So that's going to be 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. I'm going to stop here on 49. Okay, so that's 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square, 5 square, 6 square, and 7 square. So I'm going to stop there with those because I'm not going to need anything more than those over there. Right, so now let's go and see how we can factorize those. So now I know my rule, so I know I can separate. I know I need to find the largest square factor, and I know what my square numbers are. So those are the 3 things that I need in order to be able to survive this. Make sure you know what factors are. If you don't know what factors are, go watch my video on the pop-out banner up there on factors. Anyway, let's go. 8. So I'm going to split my 8 now. So I'm going to go down my square numbers here. Which is the biggest square number that goes into 8? 4 does. It's the biggest one that goes into 8. So I'm going to split this 8 into 4 times 2. Why? Because 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so it's still equal to 8. It's just I've got 4 times 2 there. So now it looks like this. Because now I've taken my 8 from being 1 number to being 2 numbers. So 4 times 2. Now it looks like this. So now I can separate it. I can put the 4 in its own square root and the 2 in its own square root. So this is going to be the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. Now we already know from the video you've just watched on square roots how to find the square root of 4 because it's a square number. Its squared factor is 2. So the answer to this question is 2 root 2. Why? Because square root of 4, that's 2. And the square root of 2 stays as the square root of 2. Now, so there's a times between here. So there's a times between the 2 and that square root there. But we don't have to put that times because we understand in maths that when you see two things like this, they're already multiplying. So if you want, you can put the times button. You don't really have to, okay? All right, let's go on to 12 then. So again, find the largest square factor of 12. So going down, well, 4 have to be the largest one because 9 doesn't go into 12. And, you know, as it is, 9 is not a factor of 12, sorry. So here we go. So I'm going to split it. And if you haven't guessed it, 4 times 3. And that's because 4 is my largest square factor in 12. And 3 is also a factor of 12. 4 times 3 is 12. So now it looks like this. And now that it looks like this, I can split it up like that. So let's split it up. Square root of 4 times square root of 3. Now we already know the square root of 4. No sense working it out again. We've already worked it out. We know it's 2. So the final answer of this is 2 root 3. Are you getting the idea? If you are, pause the video here. See if you can have a go at the other 3 questions on your own. Okay? But now I'm going to jump into the square root of 48. So square root of 48, there we go. Going down my list, 4, 9, 16 goes into 48. It goes into 48 3 times. So I'm going to use 16. So I'm going to go square root of 16 times 3. Now, if you didn't know that, then it's really important that you check out my video on times table secrets. It's really important that you learn your times tables. So click on the pop-up banner that just was up there and go and check my video out on times tables. Anyway, let's go. So 16 times 3 is 48. I will split that 16 and the 3 up, separate them from each other using this rule. Okay, so it was 2 numbers, I can split it up like that. And then square root of 16 is 4, so this is 4 root 3. If you got it right, let me know in the comment. Did you pause the video and did you have a go? If you did, then let me know if you got that right in the comments down below. All right, cool. Let's do the last couple. Well, 80, single number, I want it looking like that. 80 will be 16 times 5 for 80. Because when I go down my list, 4 goes into 80, it'll be 4 times 20. And you could be tempted to use 4, and you probably should, but it's just going to make your work a lot harder. You have a go with the 4 and tell me what happens, okay? Because when you are finished, whatever you have left in the square root must not have a square number as its factor. Well, obviously 1 doesn't count, but it shouldn't have any other number as a square number as its factor. If it does, you've done something wrong. I will show you that one in just a minute when I'm finished working it out the way that we should. So we go down the square numbers. The biggest one that goes into 80 is 16. So 16 times 5. So square root of 16 times square root of 5. And that is 4 root 5 there. All right, so no need to work it out again because we already know the square root of 16 is 4. We've seen it before. Right, I'm going to change color now and show you what can happen if you did not choose the biggest square number. So I'm going to go back to the same question of square root of 80. So let's just say you were being a little bit lazy and you said, well, okay, 4 is a square number and it goes into 80. Well, it does. I mean, you are right. So let's go. So square root of 4 times 20 to give you 80. Now, when you do your 4 times 20 and you split that up, square root of 4 times square root of 20, and you might tell yourself my answer is 2 root 20. You might tell yourself you're finished, but you're not. And the reason why you are not is we can clearly see this answer does not look like that. It's not right. But it's not right, it's not finished because you haven't simplified it as far as possible. And the reason why it's not finished is because 20 has a square number in it. It has the number 4 as a factor of 20. So what you will end up having to do, you'll end up having to work out the 20 again as a separate thing that goes square root of 4 times 5 like that, and you still have that 2 outside, and then it just makes life really difficult for you. You'll still get the same answer that I've got there, it's just that it'll take you longer and more steps. I was able to do it in 1, 2, 3 steps. And I can even skip this middle step out because we can go from 1 there to 2 and then we're done. But if you make that mistake and you've used a smaller square factor when a bigger one would have done the same job, then you would end up having to work, get to this point, realize you're not finished, and then have to do that again going down. Okay? All right, let's finish up for today then. So finally, we got the square root of 200. And again, you might be thinking to yourself, hang on a minute, 4 goes into 200 because 4 lots of 50 makes 200. But then again, you'll be in a lot of problems with that. You'll end up in this situation. Now, I don't have the biggest square factor here, but the biggest square factor that goes into 200 is 100 because 100 is a square number. So that's going to be 100 times 2 for this one to give me 200. Then I split that up, 100 times square root of 2 there. And the square root of 100 is 10. And then we have root 2. And this is now finished. So 10 root 2. All right, guys. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you've learned something new. If you have, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you do not miss another upload. So this has been powers and roots. We just ran, sorry, oh gosh, we're gonna have to cut that bit out. Okay. So this has been factorizing square roots. We have another name for it actually, and the other name is called surds. But we don't actually call it surds until you get to like year 9. Then we'll actually call it surds. And then it actually gets a lot worse than this. But this has been factorizing square roots. I hope you did like it. Until I see you on the next one.